Hey, it's Lee for On Your Marks Wrestling, and I'm here with a Raw review for May 21st, 2018. We start the show with Kurt Angle comes down to the ring to announce that there's going to be a contract signing for Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey at Money in the Bank. Then Stephanie McMahon's music hits. She says that she's going to preside over the contract signing because Kurt Angle has been messing up lately and he needs some guidance. Stephanie says that Kurt's been too lenient on Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' music hits. Says that Stephanie can say things to his face instead of behind his back or to Kurt about him. Stephanie tells him to put his Samoan temper aside. He says he'll go backstage and attack her favorites. She claims to have no favorites. Kevin Owens' music hits, the alleged favorite, and he comes out to tell Roman that he actually likes him. Tries to get the crowd to back him with the "Thank You Roman" chant, but the crowd doesn't really help him out too much on that one. Kevin says that Stephanie doesn't play favorites because she's positioned him to succeed despite all of the things that he's done to her brother and father. He ends up putting a hand on Stephanie's shoulder, which she doesn't seem to like. Tells him to never do that again. And it seems to motivate her to to make a match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. She announces it, and the crowd has a mixed reaction of, we don't really care about this match, but anything's better than listening to more Stephanie McMahon, so we'll cheer a little bit. This segment was WWE trying to tell 4 stories at once and not really telling any of them particularly well. I did not like that segment at all. The match starts after a break. We have Reigns dominating early. There's a missed drive-by / super kick that kind of gains Owens a little bit of footing. Eventually, Reigns hits a spear on the outside. Jinder Mahal runs down to the ring and attacks Roman Reigns on the outside of the ring. Owens joins him in the attack in the ring. And then Rollins' music hits, and he comes down for the save. We go to commercial, and we come back, and who knew this would happen? There's a tag team match now. So it's Owens and Mahal versus Reigns and Rollins. Mahal and Owens dominate early. They actually work well as a tag team. At one point, Mahal yanks Rollins off of the apron when Reigns is going for a tag. It leads to a cannonball by Owens onto Reigns, and he gets a 2 count out of it. Rollins hits his consecutive, I wrote shitty suicide dives, apologize for the language, but his suicide dives just suck. Just put him away. He has so many good moves. Why does he do the weakest suicide dives in the world next to Dean Ambrose? Rollins is distracted by Sunil Singh at one point, and he gets a fireman carry gutbuster by Mahal. That looked really cool. He doesn't really do that regularly, so I like seeing a new move. Later on, Kevin Owens hits a gutbuster, a different version, basically in one knee, and a second rope twisting elbow. It's kind of cool looking move. He gets a near fall. Rollins then eventually tries to stomp on Owens, who avoids it the first time, but gets hit by the second stomp attempt. At the end of the match, Mahal actually attacks Reigns and Rollins with a chair near the ramp for the exit. So, okay, I'm just going to move on. I was going to give a judgment on that match, but whatever. Then we have Sami Zayn saying that he's going to expose Lashley as a liar. Calls out Lashley's sisters. It's some dudes in drag. Predictably not funny. Sami Zayn is trying really hard to kind of like play it serious and whatnot, but the drag thing just makes you kind of lose interest. Lashley's music hits. He pretends to like what Sami did. Lashley eventually, though, Sami kind of threatens him, says calls him garbage. Lashley is attacked by the sisters and Sami, but he eventually clears the ring, including using a broomstick to lift one of the sisters by the crotch. Yeah. I feel bad for Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn's capable of so much, and he really tried this segment, but pulling out the guys in drag was just a waste of time. Like, why even have this whole segment? It's just dumb. You could have just had a match between Zayn and Lashley without any of this junk. Renee Young is with Alexa Bliss, who explains how, what is it, the Visigoths? I don't even know what that is. Used the element of surprise to defeat the Romans in 410 AD, and she says that she's the Romans, but she's not going to be surprised this time by Ember Moon. It was weird, but it was fine. Ember Moon versus Alexa Bliss, the match really starts with the when Bliss starts attacking Ember Moon's arm. Moon is selling like crazy here. Eventually, Mickie James tries to interfere, but the ref catches her and kicks her out of the ring and sends her to the back. And then distracted Alexa Bliss gets kind of hit by Ember Moon. She kind of drags her to the pulls her to the outside and kicks her once, and then she hits the Eclipse and gets the win that way. There wasn't much of a match there. It was very, very short. Then Stephanie is backstage with a fruit basket and a picture of Vince McMahon. I actually thought that was kind of funny. Balor and Strowman ask for a rematch with Ziggler and McIntyre, I believe. Stephanie says that instead Finn and Braun will face each other. Finn is smiling initially, but then Braun crushes an apple and Finn's face just kind of goes too sad. And Stephanie's kind of shocked. I thought it was a cool little segment. I actually thought this might have been one of the better segments of the night, but that kind of tells you how crappy of a night it was. Then we have a match between No Way Jose and Baron Corbin. Jose baseball slides Corbin when Corbin's doing his kind of run out of the ring, go around the post and run back in thing. I thought that was cool. He's well scouted. Eventually, Jose lands a fireman carry flapjack, essentially. Face plant. I don't know how you'd describe it, but it was cool. But then Corbin lands his big move, so he hits the deep six and then end of days and gets the win. Not much to this match, but it's kind of cool to see Corbin hit those moves on bigger guys. I was like, end of days looks cool, and you think it's only a move that he'll pull off on little guys, but he pulls it off on some big guys, and it looks even cooler. And deep six is an even cooler looking move. I understand why it's not his finisher, but it looks really, really cool on a bigger person. It looks cool all the time, let's be honest. Then we have Kurt Angle backstage. He's met by Chad Gable. He's talking about how he likes it out there, but the cell service is bad because he gave up his office to Stephanie McMahon. He tells Gable that he was going to pick him to be the replacement for Mahal last week in the Money in the Bank qualifier. Ziggler and McIntyre tease Kurt. They come in and they basically say, like, you have no power. And then Gable stands up to them on behalf of Kurt. And Angle says they'll settle it in the ring, so basically sets up a match for later on. Breezango, there's a little promo for Breezango. They review the new B-Team t-shirts, which are basically hand-drawn with a marker, but they admit that they're pretty sexy. And then they say that they're the only B-Team in the WWE, B being for Breezango. So we get the match between Breezango and B-Team. Fandango shows off at one point. This match is super short. But Fandango does his kind of hip roll thing, and that results in Dallas and Axel being able to kind of surprise him and do their finisher, which is a back suplex into a neck breaker, or into a cutter, excuse me. And they actually get the win that way. It was a very, very short match. Afterwards, they celebrate like crazy. They just hug each other. They roll around in the middle of the ring. Then they go do some crazy stuff at the announcer's table. This is a fun story. I don't know how far they're going to go with it. Like, you have to get the B team to beat an actual team that wins every once in a while. That would make it even more interesting. But it's not bad. So far, it's okay. Stephanie McMahon then gets into the ring, and she introduces both women for the contract signing. Ronda asks Stephanie about her arm. Sure. Stephanie points out that many women deserved a shot more than Ronda. to basically kind of reiterate what everybody else is saying. Says that Nia is trying to make a name off of Ronda's back. So basically Stephanie's trying to kind of rile them up while they don't really have any animosity for each other. She runs down Ronda for handling losses poorly, which they should probably let that go soon. And she basically says that Nia has a reputation for being lazy. And then both women come off as being really dumb and easily manipulated because they get really riled up and they get angry at each other. And they do a face-off thing. I hate this. I hate that they make the women look so stupid that Stephanie's very, very obvious games that she's playing still end up working in the end. The one thing I wrote here was that at least Ronda's timing was on point in terms of like her delivery of stuff. WWE has a cadence, and you have to like fit in your words at the right time. And this time, Ronda did do the right thing, where she said that she would take her title and then take her belt, take her arm. The timing was perfect. So then we get a match between Chad Gable and Ziggler. It's a very technical match early, and Gable's always seemingly coming out on top. So it basically says like, Ziggler was a great collegian, but Gable went to the Olympics, so he's a little bit better. Eventually, though, Ziggler kind of pokes his head through the ropes. The ref causes a break. Gable gets a tiny bit distracted, and Ziggler hits him with a headbutt, and then a super kick, and gets the win that way. It was a weird kind of really early end to a match, but it was effective. And then Drew McIntyre came into the ring, and he picks up a very kind of woozy Gable, and he hits him with the Claymore. Drew McIntyre, man, that guy, such a presence. You understand why Vince McMahon wanted him to be. I've said this before, but man. So then we get a match between, and this is I believe a qualifier for Money in the Bank. It's Natalya versus Dana Brooke versus Sarah Logan versus Liv Morgan. Morgan and Logan obviously paired together initially and never really kind of face off. Eventually they do end up being the only two people in the ring, and they do fake facing off. They kind of do the looking at the Money in the Bank thing and pretending that they're going to hit each other, but they just laugh, and then they go back and find Natalya and start kicking her. Logan hits Natalya with a running double knees, but not like in a corner, just in the middle of the ring, and it looked really cool. That happened after a Ruby Riott distraction, and Logan gets a near fall out of it. It's only broken up by Dana Brooke. Natalya hits a discus lariat and applies a sharpshooter on Logan eventually for the win. I didn't write everything else that happened in this match because there was nothing notable. I wrote that Natalya gave a really garbage promo afterwards to Charlie Caruso about her friendship with Ronda Rousey. So she basically says, I don't care about winning this match. Did you know that I'm friends with Ronda Rousey, who's going to be at Money in the Bank? I hate that kind of stuff. We just saw Ronda Rousey. Just let Natalya have her moment, or someone else have their moment. It was just too much. Eventually, she did say something about like her changing their title, so Ronda Rousey will go from the most dangerous woman in the world or something like that to WWE champion or women's champion, and Natalya will be Mrs. Money in the Bank, something like that. It was fine at the end, but like, I hate that kind of stuff. Then we have Elias in the ring. He makes the crowd say that they love him with his song that he wrote, but he says he doesn't feel the same about that garbage town. I always like Elias. I don't know. And it's Elias versus Bobby Roode. Elias attacks early, even before Roode takes off his robe. Roode actually ends up taking his robe and throwing it at Elias to distract him, and he gets the edge that way. Roode is very aggressive in this. I actually kind of like that a lot. I love the babyface that's aggressive. It should be that way all the time. Elias lands a bunch of big clotheslines after the break, so we have a commercial break. Roode seems to tweak his knee at one point in the match. Elias manages to crotch Roode on the top rope because of the knee. I guess Roode had trouble getting up to the top rope. He kind of drags Roode out and hits Drift away, and he gets the win that way. as Elias is about to leave the arena, he's right at the top of the ramp. Strowman's music hits, and he runs out, and he runs over Elias the same way that he's been running over Kevin Owens and other people. It's very funny. It was a very fun little bit. And then we get the last match of the night. It's Strowman versus Balor. There's a little face-off at the beginning with both guys smiling. Balor uses speed to attack the legs of Strowman, but Strowman eventually throws Balor really hard into the corner. Well, Balor throws himself hard into the corner. Either way. Every time Balor seems to get something going, Strowman hits him with a power move, but he can never get the pin. Strowman goes, and he's going for kind of lazy pins. Strowman goes for the running shoulder block on the outside that he's been hitting other people with, but he gets sling bladed instead. And then Balor also hits his missile dropkick onto Strowman, which sends him to the kind of over the barricade. He eventually gets back in, but he gets hit by a double stomp and a coup de grace on the outside. Strowman barely beats the count back into the ring, but then he lands that shoulder block that he was trying earlier. He goes for a shoulder block or a shoulder in the corner, but he hits the ring post. Balor climbs for a coup de grace. Strowman intercepts him and basically gets him in the powerbomb position, but Balor escapes. Strowman does eventually hit a powerbomb, though. Not powerbomb, excuse me, a power slam. And then he picks up Balor and he hits a second one, and he gets the win that way. Afterwards, Strowman goes to pick up Balor, as he often does, to do a third power slam. The crowd kind of wants it, but instead he just kind of stands up Balor in the corner and just celebrates his win. So it's basically showing a little bit of mercy for someone who seems to be his friend. That last match actually went quite a long time, and you don't expect that for a Strowman match, but it was okay. I didn't mind that match. It was probably the highlight of the night, on a night when there was nothing else that was particularly good. This was like it's hard to say, like, it's a night of really short matches, which I don't normally hate, but really short matches, kind of half-assed storytelling, if even half, and Stephanie McMahon seemingly being the smartest person on earth who can manipulate anybody. I didn't like any of that stuff. There were maybe 3 segments I liked the whole night. Like, Elias was good. That little piece I said earlier was all right. The last match was fine. I don't know. This was I never give a mark under 5 out of 10. I think if I do, I don't think I have yet. This is not there, but like 5.5 or 6 out of 10 would be like a fair score for this episode. It's really disappointing that the WWE has forgotten how to tell stories. Like, that used to be what they do. But now they try to tell 5 stories at once. They just need to tell one story well every once in a while. We'll see what happens. I just don't think anything got really moved forward with storylines here. All right. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Thanks for watching.